Alright, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I didn't have my headphones in, so I have no idea if this is working. As you can clearly see, I put in all sorts of effort in this one. I put on a hat. It is 6:45 in the morning here, which means I've been up since 3:30 in the morning. So that's super fun. Almost as much fun as watching Chelsea play out a 0-0 frustrating draw at Everton today. Let's see if this is working at all. It's kind of working. Sure. If you're watching this and you watched also the frustrating 0-0, welcome. Inconsistency is killing me. It is a good first comment. This whole morning is kind of killing me here. It's alternatively, if you look at it, it's kind of okay. I mean, I didn't think we played particularly badly. We didn't play particularly well. But I think we played well enough to kind of win this game, 6, 7 times out of 10. There was a crossbar in there from, was it Ashley Cole? Or Ashley Cole. Ashley Williams. He had his own crossbar. That would have been nice if it had gone in. It was a decent cross from Moses that forced that. Didn't go in. Everton had about 3 goal line clearances, including that sequence in the first half where it was back-to-back clearances. Was it Jagielka? I think it was. So it's one of those days, I suppose. If you look at it, we did have some 25 shots, 8 of them on target. Most of the time, that would be all right. Not today. Not today. Pedro had several chances that I thought he should have done better with. He kind of fluffed his shot a couple times. The one time he did get a hold of it, he hit it straight at Pickford. As Jordan Pickford just said, Everton goalkeeper Jordan Pickford said, "We grafted like hell and dug in. We had a good game plan from the gaffer and stuck to it. Had a couple chances for ourselves." Yeah, Everton had one chance at the very end, and they still didn't even hit the target. They had 5 shots, none on target. I think it's a little generous to call it a couple chances there for Everton. Happy says Zappacosta and Moses were completely dominated on that wing. That's something that we were talking about in our little group chat here on Slack. But especially that after that early yellow card for Martina, it's a little frustrating to not get Moses and Zappacosta running at him a bit more. Trying to get him that second yellow. Moses did try a couple times, but didn't really put himself in advantageous positions, and Martina got the better of them, and that's a little frustrating, especially with Moses. I mean, Zappacosta came on at the end, and that was just dumb. And I know it's a little unfair, but Zappacosta was terrible, and that's not happy with that sub. Really, kind of really wanted to see. I mean, might as well put Hudson-Odoi on at that point. Zappacosta for Moses seemed like such a waste of a substitution. Classic Ancelotti there with the wing-back sub, or Benitez if you want to go that far. Yeah, we need better crosses. I mean, yeah, you kind of need better crosses, but we had 3 small guys playing up front. There's only so much you can do with crossing. You want to spread the ball wide, sure, and we did that, especially in the first 20 minutes when Chelsea looked really good. You want to try to spread the defense out, so you create the cutback lanes and the passes to the top of the box. Little combinations or whatever. You certainly don't want to just try to plow through the middle, which is where they were. But I don't know if we really need better crosses. Especially without Morata or Batshuayi there for most of the game to finish those chances. But certainly we need better crosses than the one effort from Zappacosta that kind of ended up in the upper tier of the stand behind the goal. That was I think it was his first telling contribution of the game. is to send that one. In fact, not to be too harsh on Zappacosta, but his contributions seem to be limited to mishitting his crosses sometimes, or at least that one time against Karabag. They end up in the back of the net. Sometimes they end up, most of the time they end up in the in the stand behind the goal. So yeah, good job there, Davide Zappacosta. But yeah, so that's the one stuff I didn't quite understand. Conte was clearly patterning his lineup and his substitutions for the Southampton game, almost exactly the same, almost down to the minute. I mean, same exact starting lineup. Then Fabregas comes on around the hour mark. Then we put on a center forward. This time it was Batshuayi instead of Morata because Morata foolishly got suspended for this game. Really could have used him. So thanks for that, Alvaro. And then we make the right back sub at the end for whatever reason. Granted, I mean, Chelsea didn't really have outstanding attacking options that you would like look at the bench and be like, oh yeah, that guy should have come on, because we started with all of our attacking midfielders in Willian, Hazard, and Pedro. Put on Fabregas, put on Batshuayi. Morata was not available, and that kind of left Callum Hudson-Odoi as our only attacking option on the bench. And as nice as it would have been to see the 17-year-old come on and make his Chelsea debut and his Premier League debut, in a way it's understandable that he didn't. In a way it's kind of frustrating that he didn't. I mean, it was 0-0. Everton offered very little going forward. I'm not so sure putting Hudson-Odoi on for whoever would have really opened up us to a danger of conceding. I mean, the one time we almost conceded was from a corner. There's very little that Zappacosta or Hudson-Odoi could have done that there differently. So maybe it's frustrating that Conte didn't take that chance. Instead, he just made his safe substitutions, just as he did against Southampton. So, that's... in a way, that's frustrating. In a way, these are the players we have. It feels like a loss. It's not a loss. It's 1 point at Everton. It's frustrating because we didn't take advantage of both Liverpool and Arsenal dropping points yesterday in their ridiculously dumb 3-3 draw. So we easily could have opened up a bigger gap there. As it is, we remain 3 points ahead of Liverpool and 4 points ahead of Arsenal, so not really in danger of dropping out of the top three here. But especially if United win today, they play... Who do they play? They play away somewhere. It's going to end up being even more frustrating. So hooray for that. It's the problem with playing the early game on a Saturday. If things don't go your way, you end up frustrated the rest of the weekend. Anyway, let's quickly run through the lineups. Chelsea in the 3-4-3 once again is kind of forced onto us. Leicester says Drew. I'm not sure how to say that, but yeah, okay, thanks. Well, maybe Leicester will pull one out of the hat. Who knows? You can always count on Jamie Vardy to get a goal against one of the big teams. He seems to make a habit of that. So come on, Leicester. So Chelsea in the 3-4-3. We've undoubtedly would have gone with Morata as a center forward, but he got his fifth yellow on Wednesday against Bournemouth. Pretty sure it was for kicking the ball away, as it turns out, instead of just the actual celebration, which makes it actually a really dumb thing to do. So thanks for that. Instead, we went back to the 3-4-3 with the small lineup up front. We've used this in the last couple Premier League games, so it's not necessarily something new. And we won both of those games. And I don't think we actually ever lost with this lineup. And we've never lost with Azpilicueta as captain either. So there's all sorts of good omens there, but it was not to be. So anyway, Willian, Hazard, and Pedro right to left at the front. Moses Alonso as wingbacks, Conte, Bakayoko in the middle. And then the back three of Azpilicueta, Christensen, and Rudiger. Rudiger was the only surprise for me. I was expecting Cahill to start. I mean, they're kind of interchangeable at this point. And of course, Courtois in goal. So it's the same exact lineup that's starting in Southampton. And as mentioned earlier, Conte ended up making the same exact substitutions, with the one obvious difference of Batshuayi being used instead of Morata. Batshuayi, by the way, had like 7 touches of the ball, so yeah, not exactly a performance to build on for more starts there. Chelsea disappoint. Indeed, it was a disappointing morning, frustrating. You know, perhaps most of the time we win this game. It's one of those games where if you win it, you grind out that 1-0 win, and you're like top of the table. Everybody be like, "Oh, this is the sort of games that champions win." Or last season, I mean, it was 0-0 at half, and Chelsea would go on to win 3-0. So there's a difference between champions Chelsea and third place Chelsea, right? Sometimes you grind out that result, sometimes you don't. Hazard is really frustrating. Yeah, Hazard can be frustrating just because we know how good he can be. So when he's not that level, when he kind of drifts out of a game. I mean, he was really good for first 20 minutes when Chelsea were really good, and then he kind of just kind of gave up for a while. Then he got kicked really hard, and then he was good again. Sometimes he's talked about that before, where sometimes he needs that good kicking as much as that's not good. That's Hazard for you. Part of that is when he plays center forward, he's simply just not that influential in the game. He tries to play both role, his usual kind of withdrawn creative role, and then having to play the point on the attack, which he doesn't really do as well as Morata or really any of the center forward. But it's unfortunate. Zappacosta has dipped in form. Terrible crosses. Indeed, they were terrible. But has he really dipped in form? When was he in good form? I mean, he had that goal against Karabakh, but that was a mishit cross too. This is his form. Sometimes they end up in the back of the net. Best we can hope for, I guess. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that so far Zappacosta has not really done the Alonso move, where he turns a deadline day signing into a key part of the team and somebody who's actually really good at his role. Room for improvement. There you go. Let's keep keeping it positive. Do you think Eden's going to leave? If he does, who should we target as replacement? I don't think Eden Hazard's going anywhere. He'll sign his new contract, just like Courtois, and yeah. I don't think that's really necessarily something we have to worry about. Plus, out today's performance. Although if I only watched the first 30 minutes of the Clásico between Real Madrid and Barcelona. It was not good from Real Madrid, and they ended up losing 3-0, so there you go. Could be worse. I'm sure. I think he'll stay. I mean, obviously, I'm not sure, but all signs seem to point to him staying. There's the headlines always will make it seem a little more negative or a bit more of a more dramatic than it should be. There's a headline about him rejecting a contract offer or whatever, but there's still over 2 years left on his contract, and the time to really renegotiate and sign a new deal is with 2 years left, which is this coming summer. We try to get started early on the Hazard deal, so that's why there had been rumors already, of 300K, whatever would be his wages, new wages if and when he does sign. So I'm sure it will happen. It's kind of like the Courtois thing, it's been going on for a year now too, and only now are we getting to a point where he possibly might sign a contract this January or early next year. From the very beginning, he was saying he wanted 200,000 or whatever to get parity with David De Gea, become the highest paid goalkeeper or on joint highest paid goalkeeper in the league, in the world. It took us a year to get to the point where we apparently are ready to offer him that deal. So these things never go that quickly if we're keeping tabs. If Ram says Calvert-Lewin. Yes, Calvert-Lewin, surprisingly efficient in bodying up Azpilicueta and Christensen, but he had zero support, and he was never going to do anything. So there you go. Good for him. I mean, even when they made a decent change at halftime, actually, they put on Sandro Ramirez to get two players up, but that just meant that we had more possession in midfield. Bring back Ruben Loftus-Cheek is the question from Graham Ewing. I don't know. Is Loftus-Cheek, if he's playing at Crystal Palace, I don't think there's really any point to bringing him back. We have enough legs and players in midfield to see out the rest of the season. I don't think Loftus-Cheek would really make a difference. Where I mean, if we look at it realistically, we're not winning the title. I think that one's gone this season. It may not be out of reach mathematically, but practically it's gone. So the targets remain League Cup, FA Cup, and Champions League, and I don't think Loftus-Cheek is really going to make a difference in any of those endeavors, at least not right now. So if he continues to play at Crystal Palace, there's absolutely no reason to bring him back. Players that need to be recalled are players like Lewis Baker, who is not playing at all in Middlesbrough, and then possibly players like Musonda need to be sent out on loan and get some minutes. Dujon Sterling, all those guys. But yeah, it's not really the midfielders' problem. Is the comment from Aftab, and certainly today. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of tough to pinpoint a problem. It's we have a center forward. He was just not available today because he did something stupid on Wednesday. I think he would have made a pretty big difference as a point man to put pressure on the center backs, Jagielka and Keane. I mean, I would think you could back Morata to win the duels against them. Yeah, Batshuayi too. Conte doesn't trust him. I mean, yeah, he doesn't trust him, but if we loan out Batshuayi, we're short numbers. And, I mean, I don't know. At some point we do need a backup. So, I mean, Conte might or might not trust Batshuayi. He might get somebody, like, say we signed Llorente in the summer. Maybe Conte would have trusted him a little bit more. So we would have played him a bit more. I don't know if really Conte really wants to play anybody other than Morata, or apparently Hazard. I don't know. It seems like loaning out Batshuayi is a bad move, and you might as well just sell him at that point. But maybe he'll be sold. There you go. Arsenal in the League Cup semis. That will be fun. The obvious comment being, if we play like we played today, it's not going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, hopefully, indeed, it will be. We're actually playing apparently Arsenal 3 times in January, which is a few times too many. Unless we're of course going to win all 3. Maybe you can get Drogba back or Costa. We should loan Costa back from Atletico so we can score a couple goals against Arsenal. Yeah, Conte's not had really good time against Arsenal so far in his Chelsea career. Of course, there was that famous 3-0 loss, which kind of invented the 3-4-3 for us. Then we won later that season, but then we lost in the FA Cup, lost in the Community Shield, or drew in the Community Shield, lost on penalty kicks. And then drew again earlier this season. So, But if you watched on Friday, Arsenal's defending is just as bad as it used to be. Red card incoming, says Bine. Yeah, maybe keep Pedro and Moses away from Arsenal. Of course, that would require playing Zappacosta, so that's a bad idea. Do not do that. Play Moses. Please play Moses. Just tell him not to dive, because diving is bad. Remember, kids, diving is bad. We should go for Zaha. Ah, yes, Wilfried Zaha. Back for the second coming of Wilfried Zaha. There was a time when he was going to be the next big thing, and then he went to, was it Manchester United, and absolutely failed. And now he's once again good. I mean, yeah, he's in good form. He possibly should be tested at some place other than Crystal Palace. I don't know if really if that's the thing. The person we should definitely go for is Christian Pulisic. And I'm not just saying that as somebody who's sitting here on the west coast of the USA. But come on, all aboard! We're all aboard the Christian Pulisic hype train, and you should be too. But if we want an English, homegrown option, I suppose Wilfried Zaha would be a good choice, if an expensive one. But what player isn't expensive these days, right? Not our money anyway. Kennedy set for loan. Does that mean a wingback is incoming? I would think so, but I don't know. I mean, people will say Alexandro, and there's rumors that he's unhappy at Juventus 6 months after supposedly being very happy at Juventus. And vice versa. Apparently, Juventus are not all that happy with him anymore. Certainly not happy enough to offer him the actual contract extension that they supposedly promised. So there you go. Maybe Alexandro is a big January signing. Although it's been 6 years since we made a big January signing. So perhaps we're overdue for a big January signing. Who knows? But yeah, so apparently Kennedy is set to complete his Newcastle loan, which he didn't complete in the summer. But the reason he didn't complete in the summer is because we didn't sign a backup to Alonso, so we kept Kennedy because I guess Kennedy is better than not having a backup at all. I don't know if we're counting on maybe Baba Rahman coming back and trying him as a left wing back, since Conte didn't like him as a left back, but now the system is different, and Baba Rahman is somebody we think is pretty well suited for a wing back. So maybe that's the thing, and that's why Kennedy's being allowed to leave, if that story is true. But maybe it's just another rumor that will turn out to be not true. As Conte said, some rumors are true, some rumors are not. And by which he means most rumors are not true. Yeah, Baba Rahman, heard he's going to Schalke again. Yeah, Schalke have been keeping tabs on him ever since, and I think they would certainly be first in line if we do send him out on loan. But again, I could see a scenario if Baba is ready to play, which doesn't really sound like it. I mean, it's a week to go till January, and he's not in training, and there's been no updates. I don't know how ready he might be to play. But if we're not going to try him, if we're ready to send him out on loan, then yeah, Schalke is the place probably. Yeah. No striker used again, says Philip. Yeah, we can thank Morata for that one. I think send him a nice Christmas. He just wanted to spend Christmas at home, was the joke. So there you go. He got his wish. I missed. He needs to start a striker. I mean, sure, he needs to start a striker, but I mean, we look at it now and we say the lineup with the three small attack midfielders didn't work today because we didn't get a goal. I don't think we played badly enough that we necessarily need to throw away this lineup. I don't really like Hazard as center forward, but that's because I think he's much more effective when he's not a center forward. I think somebody like Pedro plays a lot better as a center forward, although his shooting was terrible today. Because he makes those typical center forward runs. Not necessarily, that's not what Conte's system is about. So again, we're into that territory. But I'd like to keep Hazard as a left winger or attacking midfielder, center, and go from there. But before today, I think this lineup had been perfect. It's been used 4 or 5 times, and we won all 4 or 5 games. So based on that, it was not the worst idea to try it. Conte clearly doesn't quite rate Batshuayi as much as we do, which is unfortunate. I mean, he was all right, I suppose. I don't think he did anything particularly great, but that kind of defines the rest of the team too. He was better than Zappacosta, so he's got that going for him, which is nice. But most everybody was better than Zappacosta, who's apparently turned into my scapegoat for this game. So he's got that going for him. Most of Alonso's crosses were going to waste. Yeah, well, that kind of happens when you have the three smalls, right? We could argue that they probably shouldn't be crossing. They need to stretch the defense and then work the angles and play the cutbacks instead of trying to cross into Pickford's arms. Oh, Lamar. I was wondering what Lerma was from Netherwood. That's an interesting name. Thomas Lamar is another name that's been linked with Chelsea for a cool, what was it, like 80 million? 80 million is a new 20 million, so there you go. Pocket change. Yeah, Thomas Lamar, obviously good player. Monaco, left-sided attacker. There's a theory that he possibly could be like an attacking option for left wing. But yeah, I don't know. I just really don't think we'll be making any major signing in January, just like we haven't made a major signing in January in recent memory. And I'm not really sure we need a major signing. We need somebody to play to spell Alonso at left wing back every once in a while. I mean, Kennedy is okay for cup games, but if we want Kennedy to play more out on loan, then we need somebody else instead of him. Other than that, I mean, this squad should get us top 4. Might get lucky in the Champions League. If not, then losing to Barcelona, there's not that much shame in it. It would suck to lose in the round of 16. But you're losing to Barcelona, who are running unbeaten through Spain at the moment and just smashed Real Madrid 3-0 in Madrid. So, I mean, losing to that Barcelona, it's really not, does it really look that bad? It doesn't. It doesn't look that bad. And I'm not really sure we can make a signing in January that will make the telling difference to the squad to really increase our chances of beating Barcelona. Our chances of beating them are decent, I think. It's a knockout competition or double elimination, but really, or 2 legs. But really, that still opens the possibility of anything can happen, and we know that better than anybody, right? I mean, when we beat Barcelona in 2012, that was arguably the worst Chelsea team of the last 2 decades. So it's things weird things happen in knockout competitions. We're in the semifinals of the League Cup with a beatable opposition to get to the final against Manchester City, unless they get upset by Bristol City. FA Cup starting in January and Champions League knockout rounds. These are our concentrations for the second half of the season. For now, it's trying to get as many points in the league as possible to solidify top 4. It's I don't know if we need to break the bank and make stupid decisions in January. We need to make smart decisions in the summer. The whole front office situation, I think, is also complicating things, considering we don't have a technical director at the moment. Michael Emenalo is now at Monaco. Granovskaya is basically the only person in charge at the moment. She's in charge of negotiations, finances, scouting. There you go. So we possibly need to sort out that situation first before really thinking of making any major signing. Of course, does it really take that much scouting to know that Thomas Lemar is a good player? It doesn't really, but it takes a bit more scouting to identify players like, say, Azpilicueta. Those are the new reality of the league. Is those are probably the players where we can look for a competitive advantage. I don't think we'll be outspending any of the Manchester clubs or PSG or Barcelona or Real Madrid anytime soon. So we need to find the Azpilicuetas and the Moseses and try to get the good deals and the Kantes and all those guys. And sometimes you need to get a Bakayoko in before he's ready, or before he's 100 million instead of 40 million. 0-0 is not too bad of a result. Whoa, what is this? What is this non-negativity from Bob? Not too bad of a result. Yeah, it's it's an away draw at Goodison. For a while, Goodison was our biggest bogey ground. Maybe not in the last couple seasons, but 0-0. It is what it is. A clean sheet. It's the first clean sheet in a month. There you go. Put that in our hat. Chuck says Swansea are absolutely abusing RLC right now. Is Tammy playing too? Is the Tammy versus Ruben derby? Yeah, I think we'll we can look at it as 1 point gained. We gained 1 point, kept 3 points ahead of Liverpool. We're still in the middle of this run where all these games are imminently winnable. What was it? Next up is Brighton at home on Boxing Day, and Stoke at home on Saturday the 30th. And then away to Arsenal for the first of 3 January games against Arsenal. In fact, this is going to be the one of 2 games against Arsenal in the span of a week. So that's super exciting. Yeah, it's away to Arsenal in the league. Then we begin the FA Cup against Norwich. Then home against Arsenal in the League Cup semi-final first round. So lots of different competitions coming at us. But there's 3 more Premier League games before that. All that cup nonsense begins. And those 3 definitely, the 2 home against Brighton and Stoke, that needs to be 6 points. And then away to Arsenal could set the tone for the new year. I don't know. Chelsea have seemingly. I want to say we've not done really well on the New Year's games. I seem to recall losing to Spurs a lot. So would be nice to change that pattern and get January off to a good start with Arsenal. I bet it's not even cold, says Troy. The hat isn't fooling anyone. I think by California standards, it's pretty cold around here. Not inside, really, obviously, but we're down to freezing almost outside. It's California, man. It's running for the hills. No, the hat is because I put in absolutely zero effort, so it's more of a hair thing than a cold thing. Plus, I like this hat. Again, I'm looking for non-frustrating things this morning, and this hat is definitely not frustrating. Look at it; it's amazing. It's inspired by the 80s Chelsea kits with the Commodore and the little cross hatching. Plus, we got the London is Blue podcast pin, so y'all needs to go listen to that whenever you're not watching this amazing Facebook live feed. Alright, well, I think we've devolved into nonsense already. So, probably should wrap this up. A good 30 minutes about this frustrating 0-0 is about the most effort I'm willing to put in. I'm like Eden Hazard here. We started off really well, had a good first 10 minutes, and then we said, fuck it, 0-0 it is. Better luck next time. Oh, Eden. So 0-0. Chelsea have 25 shots, 8 on target, 0 goals, 3 goal line clearances, 1 crossbar. But in the end, all that matters is 0-0. And Big Sam's big wad of gum in his mouth with the earpiece, laughing at everybody. Here to ruin your Christmas. Good old Big Sam Allardyce. We knew this was gonna happen. Ugh. So anyway, cheer up, you sound like Eeyore. Hey man, it's like, it's over 7:30 in the morning now. Yeah, well, it's Saturday morning. I don't necessarily like to wake up at 3:30 in the morning on a Saturday, even if it's for Chelsea. And when they reward me with a 0-0, it's a bit frustrating. But it's Christmas weekend. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve, and then Monday is Christmas Day. So if you celebrate Christmas, or even if you don't, if you celebrate Festivus or any other of the holidays around this time, happy holidays to everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll be back on Tuesday after the Brighton game, which is at 3 p.m. So, because everybody's off on Tuesday, or most people are off on Tuesday, so it's a regularly scheduled match. We'll be back after that, hopefully full of all sorts of Christmas cookies and meals, and hopefully with 3 points. Oh, Bob's in fellow California, man. There you go. It is sometimes frustrating. But, yeah. Everybody have a happy Christmas, and we'll talk to you after Brighton. Thanks for watching.